You're listening to the Vendor's Daughter podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Calderon, also known as the Vendor's Daughter. I started this podcast about 7 years into working at my family's business. At the time, and really ever since, I've been geeking out on two main topics: self-improvement and business growth and development. I firmly believe that the healthier we are, both mentally and physically, the better we show up for ourselves, our lives, and our businesses. So, on the show, we talk a lot about things like a positive mindset, why what you eat matters, why it's important to move your body, and how a gratitude practice can change your life. And because growing a business is my favorite topic ever, we also interview entrepreneurs from various fields so that they can share how they grew their business. Which means along the way, we'll also talk about things like email list, growing an Instagram, and knowing when it's time to hire your next employee. You guys, the only thing I might like to talk about more than business is coffee. I love coffee. So grab a fresh cup and listen in as we deep dive into all the things. All right, Roy, thank you so much for being on the show. For all of our viewers and listeners out there, would you mind introducing yourself and a little bit about what you do?
Yes, my name is Roy Biancalana, and I am a relationship coach, certified relationship coach, the #1 bestselling author of 3 books.
Mm.
I have my own podcast, which is called the Attracting Lasting Love podcast. So I work pretty exclusively with single people who don't want to be.
I
Okay.
love that.
So yeah, I work with people who are, they're not wanting dating advice per se. I work with people who want to sort of understand themselves at a deeper level as
Mm.
to why their love lives are not the way they would like them to be. Right. So my clients are interested in self-awareness. They're interested in self-discovery,
Mm.
how they might be sabotaging themselves, how or why they might be attracting, unhealthy dynamics or relationships that don't last. Right. So I'm all about sort of introspection, doing your work on yourself, what I call, and I'm sure we'll get into this, what I call getting in relationship shape, right?
Mm.
Kind of getting yourself in shape for a lasting, healthy, sustainable type of a relationship. So that's what I'm all about. And, can't wait for the conversation.
Yeah, no, me too. It's like, let's dig into it. When you talk about getting yourself into relationship shape, what does that mean?
Yeah. The best way to describe it is to use kind of a little metaphor, which is just imagine that someone wants to compete and be successful in a triathlon. Okay. They want to really do well in a triathlon. And there are triathlon coaches, by the way. So imagine that you want to do that and you're going to hire a coach. And so you sit down with your triathlon coach and you begin asking questions, about the race, how to survive the water in the beginning because it's a frenzy, and how to transition from the swimming to the bike and the bike to the marathon. And since you're out there all day, when do you eat? How much do you eat? How much water, right? Where do you speed up on the course and where do you conserve energy, right? So those are all questions about what I would call race day, race strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm a really good triathlon coach and those are the kind of questions that are being asked of me, I'm like, okay, those are good questions. They're important questions. They're not the question you should be asking me.
Mm.
You should be asking me about how to get in shape for this thing, right? Because you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're 50 pounds overweight, you're not going the distance, right? So
Right.
it really is about your conditioning. It's about your fitness level is so much more important than the strategy. So here's what happens in our love lives. People want to attract a good relationship. Perhaps they've given themselves to their careers and they've
Mhm.
established that, and it's solid, it's going, and now they want to add a beautiful intimacy to their lives. And it's very tempting. And what happens to me as a coach is people ask me about race day. in their love lives. Meaning, where do I go to meet someone? How do I approach them? Or how do I get them to approach me? What do I say? How do you flirt? How do you present yourself online? All of these things, which are important questions, but they're sort of all about race day, meaning they're all about that moment when you first meet someone or how you meet that person. And I'm here to tell you, as a coach with many decades of experience and then my own disasters in my own love life, that while those are important questions, that's not the question to be asking. The question is, are you in relationship shape? So that when you do meet someone, you are prepared to go the distance.
So good.
And what I have found is almost everyone is not in as good of relationship shape as they need to be if they want to create a really meaningful, solid, beautiful relationship. I mean, if somebody just wants a mediocre relationship where they tolerate each other and they don't kill each other, anybody can do that. Okay. If you want to make something that's beautiful, where you support each other's aliveness, where your mutual creativity together is better than you would be apart. And if you want something special, then it's all about getting yourself in shape so that when you do meet that person, and however that happens, Lord knows how. I mean, there's bizarre stories about how people meet. I mean, I met my wife by sitting next to her in a personal growth conference. I just sat down next to the prettiest girl in the room. So, how do you meet people? People meet in strange ways, sometimes online, sometimes just at an event, at a church, at an airport. You're going to bump into someone and you're going to be at the starting line of that relationship. And you better be in shape if you want it to go somewhere. And if you're not, chances are it's going to be maybe another relationship that doesn't last or is disappointing or kind of ends up in a similar dynamic that you're familiar with, that is something you don't want to experience again, right? So that's all my work is like, how do we strengthen our relationship muscles so that we're ready for something real? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I mean, I'm married. I've been married for 4 years, but I'm like, oh, maybe I should get into relationship shape. Maybe I'm not even in relationship shape myself right now. So, what does it look like to be like, if you're out there? I have lots of single friends who have dedicated their lives to their career, and now they're just like, oh man, we've been focused on the wrong thing. I'm ready to meet that person, and they're trying to put themselves in situations where they can meet someone. I think they've been focused on game day, but what does it mean what are the things that we should be working on to get into relationship shape?
Right. Well, I kind of keep it in the fitness metaphor thing, and I've identified what I call 7 relationship muscles. There are 7 issues going on in our lives that we need to be strong. We can't be flabby and kind of out of shape, and if we want to have a great relationship. So 7 relationship muscles. I talk about them. They're all, where's my finger? They're all in my new book, Relationship Boot Camp.
Love it.
So that's the metaphor, relationship boot camp, right? Hardcore training for life, love, and the pursuit of intimacy. So a couple of them, I think maybe the 2 we could discuss here that I think are the juiciest and the deepest, maybe the stickiest. And the first one is our relationship to our past. Okay. Unless you're a little baby in the maternity ward, you've got baggage, right? I mean, we've all been, hurt to some degree, lied to, betrayed, ghosted, gaslighted, right? I mean, some people have had tremendous relationship trauma. Some of us are lucky enough to just have some bumps and bruises, but we've all got pain from the past. We've all been hurt in some way. Okay, that's not the problem. The problem is what we do with it. And most of us, that's why I really like the word baggage. Most of us have our past in a little suitcase that we drag around with us wherever we go. In other words, the past is not something that merely happened. It's something that's happening. right? The past is alive in us. Okay. And when we've been hurt, betrayed, lied to, cheated on, these things, it makes us guarded, right? Because we don't want to get hurt again, right? It's just natural to want to protect yourself from more pain, from more disappointment.
Yeah.
And so we end up then going through our lives with a kind of guardedness or a kind of suspiciousness, a little, what's your agenda? What are you up to? Are you going to hurt me like the last one did? Or like the one I've heard that happened to my girlfriend? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we have a tendency to put walls around our heart, walls that will keep us safe, but they'll keep you single.
Ooh.
Because yes, nobody can get in to hurt you, but nobody can get in to love you either, right? So this is what the past does. When it's alive in us, we're not able to meet someone with a clean emotional slate and to interact with them and get to know them for who they are. We're going to have a tendency to project our past onto them. And so this is kind of a funny way that I say it, and I only say it humorously, otherwise we would just cry about this stuff all day long. But, most of us have these relationships where they're like a menage a trois from hell, right? It's me and it's you and my past. And the three of us are in this relationship. Okay. It's like,
that's real.
Right. So, I have a background. You might not know this. I have a background in professional sports. So I've been a professional golfer most of my life. Now I'm a coach, but when I was younger, I played on the PGA Tour. I played with Tiger Woods and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And so I'm very familiar with sports psychology. I mean, I had a fitness trainer and a nutrition person, and I had a swing trainer, but I also had a sports psychologist I worked with. All of sports psychology can be summed up in just one thing. They're all trying to help the athlete do the next shot or pitch or at bat or play or point with a clean emotional slate. It's all about, can you let go of what happened and be present for this shot? Because if you're carrying what happened on your last shot, or it's going to affect the next one you play, right? So sports psychology is all about meeting the next point as if it's the only thing, and there's no history, really. You've sort of let it go. I mean, you never forget. Even in relationships, you don't forget things that happen. You don't give yourself a lobotomy and cut your brain out, right? But it's not affecting you. It's not alive in you. So then you're able to meet a new person without looking through the lens of your past and perhaps putting out an aura of guardedness or suspiciousness or something that might not allow the relationship to move at the pace that it wants to. So we end up sabotaging our love lives by having the past be alive in us. So it's kind of a dirty subject. It's because nobody likes to talk about their past or relive it or have to deal with it. And certainly you don't have to relive your past, but there is a process that we need to go through to be able to let it go. So I always give the example. Just imagine that your last 3 relationships, significant relationships, in each one of them, the person cheated on you. Okay. So then you're going along and you bump into someone new and they're standing right in front of you. Aren't you going to be like, are you going to cheat on me too?
100%.
Like, isn't that going to be right? See, so when that is there in you, that person can feel it. That person will feel that perhaps you are not allowing the relationship to progress at a pace that it should, or they just feel your distance a little bit. They don't really know what's going on, but they almost can, since we're on video, they almost are experiencing you as if you've got your arms crossed across your chest.
Yeah.
Sort of, you're closed in some way because you've been hurt, right? Now they don't know what's going on. They just feel that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're a good, solid person, they don't want to try to break through that. They don't know what's going on. I mean, and no good person ever brings a sledgehammer to a date to break down your walls, right? They're just going to go to that girl over there who seems to have her arms wide open.
Yeah.
Come play. Come dance with me. If you're an idiot, I'm going to smack you, but I'm open to you. I'm available, right?
Yeah.
So when the past is alive in us, believe it or not, it makes us emotionally unavailable, which is something we always accuse men of, and they're guilty of it a lot of times. But the past can make us have our own version of being unavailable. So that is just a huge issue of how do you let go of your past when you recognize it's not about forgetting it. It's about letting go of the negative charge and all the projection and stuff that can happen with that. So that's one of them, Jennifer. The other one, what is your relationship to your feminine energy?
I love that you brought that up. Let's
Right?
do that.
Masculine,
Yeah.
feminine issue. Now, your audience is mostly female, so we can talk this way. Now, we should say everyone has both masculine and feminine
Mm-hmm.
energies, right? Most females are more at home in the feminine than the masculine, but not all, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak in general terms. But there are some men who are more at home in the feminine. There are some women who are more at home in the masculine. It's just that it's a little rare, okay? But your audience, what's interesting, your audience being entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
business owners, CEOs, kick-ass, take names, type of women who are
Yeah.
achieving and career-oriented. The entire career world is masculine in the sense that it's about direction, it's about success, it's about budgets and scheduling, and it's a masculine type of energetic. Where any business, whether you're working for Victoria's Secret or Exxon, right?
Yeah.
The business world is a masculine environment. And so what happens is women get their masculine side very strong. It needs to be strong to survive and to succeed and to compete and so forth. So that's great. Women who have developed their masculine side, they don't need a man to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like a 1950s woman, where I'm dependent on him financially and for everything. No, they've established themselves and they've done it by really animating that masculine side of themselves. Here's what happens a lot though. In that process, their feminine either gets sort of ignored or perhaps even diminished
Mm-hmm.
or maybe disowned, right? In other words, on some level, very often a woman can get disconnected from her primary essence, from her real heart. Okay. And so today's modern woman who's kicking ass and taking names very often needs to do some work on how do I resurrect the feminine part of me? How do I re-own that? How do I appreciate that part of me? How do I brighten my radiance, right? How do I magnify that part of me? Because what the masculine is attracted to is the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Masculine is not attracted to masculine, even in a gay relationship. If you look closely at gay relationships, one person is in the masculine energy, one is in the feminine energy. That's what creates sexual chemistry. That's what creates chemistry, is the polarities of the energies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a masculine being will respect another masculine being, but he won't want to take another masculine being, if you know what I mean. He doesn't want to dig his body and fingers and the heart and everything into it. So there's a respect, but there's not, I want you, right?
Yeah.
So today's woman it's harder it's actually harder to be a woman in today's world than a man. Because if a man's got a masculine nature at work, when he goes to happy hour or goes on a date or goes out with his friends, he can continue to be in his masculine, which is what the feminine's attracted to.
Right.
A man who knows who he is and where he's going, and he's got a clear mission, a clear purpose. That's attractive. Not too many feminine people are attracted to men who are lost and living in their mother's basement playing video games all day. Just flowing. I don't have a purpose. I'm just flowing around life. And yeah, okay. That doesn't. Most women don't say I want to dive into that guy. Okay, so men can sort of continue who they are at work and in their personal life. But when a feminine person is in their masculine all day, there's like a shift that needs to happen. When you get out of work, it's like you need to leave that part of you at work and be able to embody more of your natural feminine when you're in your personal life. And that's just hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to sort of smudge the masculine out of you and leave it where it belongs at work, and to get more into your feminine essence. And it's not about the way you dress. It's about your energy and your priority, right? And what makes matters worse, in our world, the world doesn't value the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
The world values masculine values. That's what they get. You get paid for masculine values. You don't get paid for being a genius of emotion and feeling and people and connection and communion and celebration, right? Unfortunately, that's not valued the same as the masculine direction, purpose, achievement, task orientation, goals, and stuff like that. So a lot of women have disowned themselves from their feminine side. They don't even know, where do I begin? What does it mean to be playful?
Yeah.
Right? Because I often describe the feminine as having like a diamond. It's got 6 facets, right? And those facets are playfulness, sensuality, vulnerability, spontaneity, fierceness, sexuality. I don't know if that's 5 or 6. I might be missing one in there, but
I think you got him.
but right. So a lot of women are like, yeah, I can feel that part of me. I don't know how to magnify that. I don't know how to embody that. I don't know how to show that, because that playful, sensual, vulnerable, spontaneous, that's the thing that good men are attracted to, right?
Yeah.
But yet when that's blocked in a woman, or she doesn't know how to show that, it hinders making connection on the level that she would like. So part of the things I work with my female clients anyway, are, what does it mean to embody the divine feminine, right? What does that mean? What does it look like in your life? What practices do you need to do in your personal life to get more in touch with that part of you, right? Because I want to say this too. On one level, it's not about reclaiming your feminine power to get a man. It's like, no, it's who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's about being a complete woman. It's like, yeah, I can kick ass and take names, but I also have this part of me, right? I'm not lopsided. I'm not one dimensional. It's like that old song. Was it Meredith Brooks? The song's title was Bitch. So she says, I'm a bitch. I'm a mother. I'm a lover.
Yes.
Right. The wording of that is ultra feminine. It's like, I am all these things. And she says, are you strong enough to be my man? Can you handle the flow over here?
Yeah.
Can you handle all the feelings and all the dimensions of the feminine? And so, most women just need to do some, especially if they've been so career-oriented for a while, they need to do some work on that part of themselves. It's like having a really strong biceps and a flabby tricep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not in balance, right? You're one dimensional. So that is another. Your relationship to your feminine energy is just a huge one. And I will say one more thing on this. The masculine and feminine are so misunderstood, right? I'm not talking about being some sort of blonde bimbo who
Yeah.
doesn't know how to tie her shoes. That's not the feminine. Okay. I'm not talking about necessarily some icons that we see in the world who we might think are feminine. The feminine is a divine orientation toward love and connection and communion. Um, it's about the horizontal dimension in life. It's us. It's our communion. It's our connection. It's the feeling and the flow. It's not about how high your cheekbones are or how big your boobs are. It's got nothing to do with your physical appearance. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. The feminine is an energy, right? And the masculine is an energy. The masculine is not about being a macho ass. It's not about control and domination. There's a dark side of the feminine,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and there's a dark side of the masculine, okay.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the divine aspects of of life and how they show up, and it's just a huge issue for women these days, and it's
Yeah.
such a fun topic to coach people around.
It's a topic that I've become mildly obsessed with lately, just as somebody who, as a woman who's been career oriented, who's very proud of my career, who's very proud of my take ass, take names, all of those things. And I started, this might be too much information, but the audience knows, been on this fertility treatment and really kind of digging into some of like the underlining health issues going on in my body. And one
Mm,
of the books I've been reading has been a lot of nutrition focused when it comes to hormone, but she's
mm,
also talking about your lifestyle and she goes into the masculine and feminine energies.
mm,
And we're doing ourselves a disservice when we think, oh, we don't need that feminine side of ourselves. And it's
mm,
like, oh, I don't have time to connect. I don't have time to make space for this relationship. I don't have time. And you're just like task oriented. It's like your body was not designed to thrive in that. Like we as
yeah,
women need to connect, we need to slow down. And so
yeah.
it's been very eye opening recently and also very frustrating
Mm,
to think that like as a child of the 80s, like I was like, I'm a woman, I can have it all.
mm,
And it's like, well, at like what cost? Like what did you sacrifice
mm,
to have it all? And do you really have it all, or do you just have a very unbalanced version of it all? And so it's been
yeah.
really
I
eye-opening.
really appreciating your wisdom there and the questions you're asking.
Yeah,
And I do think that women have been fed a lot of baloney
I do too.
that creates expectations and demands. And well, yeah, we could talk for days about how the culture misunderstands the feminine and is done in such a disservice. But there's people like you talking about it. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought it up too. And so for women who are needing to embody more of that feminine energy, like where's a good place to start? What's something they could do now, I guess.
Um, Body practices,
Mm,
right? So the feminine is allowing love to flow through your feminine form. So the feminine is body. It is sensual. It's it's feeling. It rather than logic and planning and thinking, which
mhm,
was great, but it's more about being below the neck. What can you do to cultivate pleasure? Like the feminine is about pleasure.
yeah,
And but what happens so much, we fill our life with so many activities and demands and our schedules that we don't flow a lot of pleasure through our bodies. We don't have time for that. And so then our bodies, a feminine body can become stiff and sort of not very juicy, not wet, not
yeah,
sort of alive with the kind of movement, right? So a feminine person, they want to cultivate that side of themselves, needs to ask themselves, what things can I do on a regular basis that brings pleasure into my body? I mean, and that's everything from masturbation
Yeah.
to favorite foods and favorite kinds of clothing, just things that make you feel pretty or make you feel sexy or make you feel love, connection, right? So there's all kinds of pleasure practices that need to be cultivated. I would say breath practices, right? I want to say yoga, but I'm afraid people will think that I'm talking about like going to the local yoga thing at the YMCA and doing exercise. I don't mean a fitness program. I'm talking about yoga really means the union between body and mind. And real yoga is about breath, and it's about connection to the body through the breath. So there's breath work. See, so when you're breathing, you're in your body, right? And you're connecting to that part of you. Another thing would be the real cultivation of feeling and emotion. See, as women are in the marketplace, there's an old movie made by Tom Hanks, and I believe it was oh my God, Madonna, I think, back in like the 80s, and it was a baseball movie. And there's one famous line in
A
the
League
movie,
of Their Own?
League of Their Own, right?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Right. Where Tom Hanks tells all the girls on the baseball team, there's no crying in baseball.
I love it.
Okay. What's he saying there? Don't be girls, right? Don't be emotional. Don't be feeling. This is baseball. Well, that's what the whole world's been telling women.
Yeah.
Quit being a girl. Quit. Right. So you're in the business world. You can't be crying at a board meeting. You can't be all emotional and feeling and love. And right. You gotta be professional. You have to, talk properly and wear a little business suit that doesn't show anyone that you're a woman or, so you're cultivating your masculine, and you're not cultivating emotion. You're not cultivating feeling. You're almost disowning that part of yourself.
Yeah.
But so between body practices, breath work, learning what it means to be emotionally intelligent as a feminine creature. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Most men cannot handle a feminine person's emotional flow. Men can be overwhelmed by the amount of feeling and emotion that a woman experiences. So I often describe the masculine and feminine as the feminine, like a river. A river has two parts, the water and the banks, right? Well, the water is the feminine. It's flowing, it's moving, right? It's alive and so forth. But in order, the water needs to be contained. It needs something that's deep and wide for in which it can flow, right? Most men, when I work with men, it's all about how do you make your river banks wider and deeper so that you can handle her flow. Because she's looking for a man that she can rest into and really be herself and open up and feel safe and say, like in the song, he's strong enough to be my man. Like I can be my wild self when that part of me wants to come out. I can be my crazy self when that wants to come out. I can be my business self, but he's a big enough guy to handle it. Most men can't do that. And because of that, many women diminish that part of themselves so that they only show a certain part of themselves so a guy can handle it. Like, I'm going to show you 50% of me because that's about all you can handle. And since I want to be in a relationship, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold myself back because if I come full forward, I don't know if you could handle it. Right. So these are the issues that I deal with every day, and they're deep and they're a blast, but they're really important.
Really important. You were saying that women will show only like 50% of themselves to a man because they're afraid that he won't be able to handle like their full force.
Hmm.
So I guess going back to the single ladies, because I'm feeling very pulled to just like talk about if you're in a relationship, but let's not. Let's talk about the singles.
Well, a lot
For
of these principles apply the same way. I mean, the
you, right?
relationship muscles are whether you're in a relationship or not. But yeah.
Right. And I'm just thinking for the women out there who are in like that masculine energy for, let's just say on average at least 8 hours a day, where
Mhm.
they're like building their career, they're building their business, or they're working up the corporate ladder, whatever it may be. Um then they go and it's time to like go on a date. So how do you shut down like such a big part of yourself, about your life, um, and then go and just be this other version of yourself? And like, do you talk
Yeah.
about work still? Are you on, if you're like on a date, do you guys not want to hear about your job? Like, what is it?
No, no, weak men get intimidated by successful women, but that just means you're with the wrong guy. Okay,
Okay.
so no, you can still talk about what you do and what you love, right?
Yeah.
And who you are. And a good man is gonna he's gonna be turned on by a woman who, you know, doesn't need him,
Hmm.
it isn't desperate, isn't needing to be taken care of per se, right? So you can certainly talk about your work. I know there's lots of info out there that you shouldn't do any of that.
Yeah.
That's just that's just playing games. And that's acting as men are intimidated. No, not good men are not intimidated by powerful women. They actually love them. They feel like, yeah, I've met my match. Um, so no, you can certainly talk about that. What needs to happen is certainly when you go from work to maybe on a date, change your clothes, change your hair, just get all that work stuff off. Maybe maybe in the at the bathroom at your office, you're going to change clothes before you go on this date. You're going to change your hair. Maybe you put some music on with your phone or something, dance a little bit, kind of get your body flowing, kind of get out of the rigid mechanical side of work life. So there's kind of some smudging you can do, but in reality, if you are cultivating your feminine in the other 16 hours of your life, right? If you have practices like yoga and breath work and you're really growing in your understanding of your emotions and you're letting those things flow and feel and you're doing pleasure work, you're able to flip a switch quite easily.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, the biggest difference is when you go on a date, when you've been at work and you're sort of in charge, you're directing everything. You're telling people what to do, when, how, where, right? You're making all the decisions. You're just in charge of everything.
Yeah.
If you truly, at your core, have a feminine essence, you can do that all day, but you certainly don't want to do it all night.
Hmm.
It's like, I don't want to make decisions. I mean, I have to at work and I can do it and I'm good at it, but I don't want to make the plans. I don't want to make the decisions. I don't want to direct everything and do everything. I would love to meet a man who I can trust enough to say, I'm yours.
Yeah.
Like, you make the decisions. Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't even want to think about that. Take me someplace that you think I'll like to go. I trust you. Right. So that is when you get out of decision making and planning and directing, you are in your feminine. When you're more responsive, right? When you're in a place of feeling and responsiveness and to some degree refusing to take charge,
Hmm.
right? You're in your feminine. Now, you need to have a man who's worthy of your surrender. Okay, I hate to use that word because that scares people, but you'd be an idiot to surrender to some guy that is ego driven and is not thinking about what would serve the both of you, and a guy that's not on his game and stuff like that. So um, this surrender, this opening, this allowing someone else to drive the car, because you've been driving all day, steering it and where we're going, how we're going to get there. For you to ride shotgun, you need to have you need to at least believe the guy you're with isn't going to drive the car off the road into a
Yeah.
ditch, right? So you don't surrender to an idiot. You surrender to a man who is demonstrating some level of presence that you feel like, I can relax a little bit. I can trust. Now, that changes at every level of the relationship. In the beginning, you're just trusting, can this guy make a plan on what we're going to do Friday night? And he's, he might ask me, do you want to do this? You want to do that? Well, then you give him feedback, but you're trusting him with little things.
Yeah.
You're not trusting him with the rest of your life. You're not trusting him with your children. You're not trusting him with with everything, but you're just meeting him. You're just engaging, and you're experimenting with, I don't want to be in charge. I've been doing it all day long. I just want to relax and just take me, right? And I'll respond to you. It's like a dancing metaphor, right? Like, I don't do ballroom dancing. I know enough about dancing to know that someone has to lead, someone has to follow, right? If both are trying to lead,
It's a mess.
that ain't going to work. If both are trying to follow, you won't move anywhere. So one person has to lead. The other person has to trust the other person. Okay, I will let you lead. I will follow because I think this is going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
So in a sense, that's what the feminine is doing, is like, I will follow as long as you're not a jackass, as long as I feel like it's a smart thing to do. And you do that in little ways in the beginning. And then eventually, when he says, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, he's demonstrated this would be a smart decision to be with this man because I trust who he is and what he's about, and with a big decision. So does that make some sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense, and I like the idea, like, you start small, like,
Yeah.
see about dinner and then see about the rest of your life. But then my
Yeah.
mind also goes to, like, okay, well, now you're in this relationship,
Mhm.
and it's like this whole idea of, like, being, like, equally yoked or being, like, an equal partner,
Mhm.
or, like, maybe the husband or the boyfriend or whatever doesn't wanna always be the one who makes the decisions, like, should he want to be the one that always makes the decisions, or like what does that look like? I'm just like, what in
No.
a long-term relationship, like, where do things kind of level out?
Right. Well, there is an ebb and flow. There are times um, where couples switch roles,
Mhm.
right? Um, and then there are times when the feminine person um, has more skill or more knowledge about what if I was married? What if my wife was a financial planner?
Right.
Okay, who's choosing the stocks?
Yeah.
She is.
Got it. Okay.
Right? So she's being masculine. No, she's got a gift. What if you're married to an accountant? Who's going to do your taxes? You or the accountant? Wait, are you nuts? Right?
Right.
So there's giftedness and what you're good at and what you like to do. And just like, just like sex, right? Very often there is a ravisher and a ravishee.
Yeah.
Right? The ravisher is the masculine. I'm going to pin you down, baby, and make love to you. And I look in your eyes and I love you and you're mine. Right? And the feminine is like, oh, take me. I'm just
Take
like,
me.
I'm you. I'm not going to fight you, baby. Come get me. Other times, though, the feminine wants to be the ravisher. I'm
Yeah.
going to pin you down. Right? So the sexual polarity, it works as long as they're in opposite places.
Got it.
Where problems come in a relationship is when both people sort of want to make the decisions and then you're fighting over that.
I
And
see.
usually that's a lack of trust when that happens. Or both people are sort of in the feminine and just want to flow. And then it just seems like, where are we going? So yeah, this is not about one person is always making decisions and the other person has no say. That's not it. I mean, usually there's something called feminine intuition. And any man who doesn't believe in it and trust it and use it is an idiot. I've done it many times, but I've learned if I'm making a decision or something, even if it has nothing to do with her, just something in my business or whatever, I'm running it past her. Hey, baby, what do you feel about this? How does this touch you? How does it, when I describe this, what happens in your body? What's going on? And very often she'll just say, I don't even know why, but it doesn't feel right to me.
Interesting.
And I listen to that. It's like, oh, no. If something doesn't feel right in her, then she's got a sense, right? So this isn't about dominating or telling people what to do. I often tell people in dating situations, if you're a masculine person, offer the woman options. I want to be with you on Friday night. We could go get Italian. We could go get, pizza. We could go eat Chinese. We could do this. And the feminine gets to feel all the options. And she's, ooh, I like that. I like Italian. That sounds good to me. Good. That's where we're going. Well, who made the decision? Well, she sort of did.
Sort of, yeah,
but he just said, here are options. And then the feminine gets to feel it. Right.
I love that.
It's not about we're doing this on Friday night, bitch, whatever, whether you like it or not. Right. That's not, it's so easy to think that's what we're talking about. That's why I want to say these things. It's not that. Yeah. It's not about power and control, and it's not about submission, and being some sort of damsel in distress. It's the play of these energies where the masculine's more concerned with like a big picture and kind of where we're going. And the feminine's more about how are we feeling and how are we connected. And both of those are necessary in a relationship.
Yeah, I love that. It's a beautiful dance in a way, and just like the push and pull of the two. I like that you said even just giving options. Like, it's a very practical thing. I mean, there's jokes on the internet all day long about like asking a woman what she wants for dinner kind of thing.
Right.
I'm like, it's
right. I tell masculine people, right.
Just, yeah.
I tell them all the time, do not say, what do you want to do tonight? Because then you're putting her in the masculine to come up with a plan. Say, here are 4 things that I would love to do these with you. Which one do you want? Now you're not deciding, you're responding with feeling.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting it on you. See, now here's the problem. Most of us men have been shamed about our masculinity. Yeah. So we want to be nice guys. We don't want to tell someone what to do. So we think we're being good when we say, what do you want to do? And we're trying to be nice, but we don't know that is such a turnoff to a woman when you're like, what do you want to do? Like, no, come to me with some ideas and some options and let me feel them and let me pick. But that takes a man who's secure enough in himself, to come forward with that and not be afraid that he's coming on too strong or something. So yeah. True. So the masculine, feminine, we're so messed up in this country around this stuff. And that's why men and women just, we're not doing very well right now.
No, I was like,
hope, I think.
I believe there is hope. More conversations like this, re-education, coaches like you who are out there. So, gosh, I could seriously talk about this all day long. But I feel like I've already taken up so much of your time so far. We only went over 2 of the 7 relationship muscles.
Right, so right. And if I could wrap up with something, here's something. As I talk about getting in relationship shape, okay? If you went to a gym to hire a personal trainer to get you in physical shape, the first thing a trainer would do would run you through a bunch of assessments to see where you are now. It's like, oh, I know where you want to get to physically. Now, if I know where you're starting from, I can put a program together. Okay. Well, I do that for my clients. I know what you want. You want that healthy, sustainable, beautiful intimacy. Where are you starting from? What is your current relationship fitness level?
Yeah.
Right. How physically, relationally in shape are you? So I've created something called the Relationship Fitness Self-Assessment Test. Okay. It's a 30-question true false thing. It takes you about 3-4 minutes to take. You get your results immediately. Everything's confidential. It is extremely accurate. right? But it will give you an indication of, okay, well, how relationally in shape am I? And don't be surprised if you get feedback that you need to get in better shape.
Yeah.
Okay? Because most of us, we're not Buddha or Jesus or something. Most of us are human, and we just like most of us need to get in better physical shape,
Yeah.
most of us need to get in better relationship shape. So if you go to my website, coachingwithroy.com, right on the homepage, you'll see it right there. What's your relationship fitness level? Find out now. You click that button, you take the test, you get your results. And then with those results, I don't see your results. Okay. But if you feel like you might want to hire a coach, then you share with me your results and I can put a program together to get you where you want to go. I can put a fitness program together based upon your assessment. And so I just would invite people to go to coachingwithroy.com and take that test and just get a sense of where you are now. And then if I can help you, well, all my info is right on the homepage of the website.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, which I hope you did, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss what's next. If you really enjoyed it, I'd be super grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes or anywhere that you listen. And if you really enjoyed it, then I'd love if you'd share it with a friend. Last but not least, make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Vendor's Daughter for a behind-the-scenes look at my personal and professional life, and for what I hope is a little bit of daily inspiration as we walk this crazy journey together.